It's Friday, July 28th, 2017. You are listening to Inception Radio Network, voice of the fringe majority. This is Carol Carl with UFO Headline News. So, what have we got to look at in the sky tonight? Well, there certainly are the Delta Aquarids, they're still going on, and the Perseid meteor shower. But there's also Moon, Jupiter, and Spica. Yep, that's what Bruce McClure says, and he should know. He hangs out at earthsky.org, that wonderful site where we bring you what's up in the sky tonight. And tonight, shortly after sunset, let the waxing moon guide you to the planet Jupiter and the star Spica, that brightest star in the constellation Virgo the Maiden. You simply can't miss Jupiter. It's the second brightest heavenly body to illuminate the evening sky after the moon. Although planet Venus is brighter than Jupiter, Venus appears only in the eastern sky during the wee hours before sunrise. Venus will remain in the morning sky, in fact, for the rest of this year. So, right now, and for some months to come, there isn't any way to mistake Venus for Jupiter, or vice versa. The moon and Jupiter come out at dusk, but you might have to wait for the sky to darken before seeing the star Spica. She'll be to the east of the moon and Jupiter on July 28th. Even though Spica counts as one of the sky's brightest stars, Jupiter shines some 14 times brighter than Virgo's sole first magnitude star. Tomorrow, as darkness falls on July 29th, note the moon's change of position relative to Spica and Jupiter. This change in position from one day to the next is due to the moon's actual motion in orbit around the Earth. Wow, cool visual evidence. The moon appears to travel westward in the course of a single day, but that motion is due to Earth's spin under the sky. Meanwhile, day by day, the moon travels eastward in orbit and thus eastward in front of the backdrop of stars and planets. The moon will, in fact, move out of the constellation Virgo after a few more days, but Jupiter will still shine in front of this constellation through the month of November. In other words, brilliant planet Jupiter and bright star Spica will remain steady companions in the sky for months to come. Because Jupiter stays in each constellation of the zodiac for roughly a year, 2017 is a good year for using Jupiter to locate Spica and to make friends with the constellation Virgo. A year from now, July of 2018, Jupiter will be partnering up with that star with the wonderful name. It's a second magnitude star, and they call it Zubin el-Janubi. Oh, let's spell it. Zubenelgenubi, the alpha star in the constellation Libra the Scales. So provided your 2018 calendar has the space, why, you can just pencil in Zubin el-Janubi. Yep, and Libra, don't forget Libra, provides a little balance. The year following, 2019, Jupiter will couple up with Antares, the constellation Scorpius's famous first magnitude star. Jupiter will serve as your guide throughout 2019, guide you right into catching glimpses of Antares and Scorpio the Scorpion. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Here's the bottom line for tonight. As darkness falls on July 28th, 2017, use the moon to find Jupiter, and then rely on Jupiter to show you the star Spica tonight and for months to come. That terrific site universetoday.com provides us with this headline: New Comet C/2017-01 ASAS-SN takes Earth by surprise. This gets a byline for David Dickinson. A new comet discovery crept up on us this past weekend, one that should be visible for Northern Hemisphere observers soon. We're talking about Comet C/2017-01 ASAS-SN, a long-period comet currently visiting the inner solar system. When it was discovered on July 19, 2017, by the All-Sky Automated Survey for Supernovae, and those letters are ASAS-SN system, Comet O1 ASAS-SN was at a faint magnitude. It was plus 15.3, located in the constellation Cetus. In just a few short days, however, that comet jumped up 100-fold in brightness to magnitude plus 10. and should be in range of binoculars right about now. Hopes are that this comet will top out around magnitude +8 or so in the month of October as it transitions from the southern to the northern hemisphere. Never heard of ASAS-SN? Well, no, we hadn't. It is an automated sky survey hunting for supernovae in both hemispheres, with instruments based at Haleakala in Hawaii and Cerro Tololo in Chile. Although the survey targets supernovae, it does on occasion pick up other interesting astronomical phenomena as well. This is the first comet discovery for that team as they join the ranks of pan-stars. That's spelled PANSTARRS, stars with 2 R's. There's a program called Linear and lots of prolific robotic comet hunters. Evoking the very name, ASAS-SN, seems to have sparked a minor controversy as well, as the International Astronomical Union declined to name the comet after that survey. They're still just listing it as C/2017-01. The word, of course, when said out loud, those letters, ASAS-SN, well, it's close to the word assassin, so hence that controversy. But for David Dickinson, who writes this article, he says, quote, "We'll simply keep referring to that comet as 01 ASAS-SN in recognition of the team's hard work and their terrific discovery." But he continues, what's in a name? And does an interplanetary ice ball really care? On a long-term parabolic orbit, probably measured in the millions of years, 01 ASAS-SN has an orbit inclined 40 degrees to the ecliptic, in case you're wondering, and it reaches perihelion 1.5 astronomical units from the Sun, just outside the orbit of Mars. That will happen October 14th. This is most likely going to be that comet's first passage through the inner solar system, as in first ever. Currently located in the constellation Eridanus, hopefully that comet's current outburst will hold. Expect it to climb northward through Taurus and Perseus over the next few months as it begins the long climb toward the north celestial pole. Here's a tad more about its location should you be inclined to try to see it. As seen from latitude 30 degrees north, the comet will move almost parallel to the eastern horizon and clears about 20 degrees altitude around local midnight, very well placed for northern hemisphere observers. This great article, by the way, is filled with graphics, ecliptics, and charts. Oh my, it gets technical, bad radio. You can check out all those things later at ufoheadlinenews.com. There's Friday excitement. Here's the headline from spaceflightnow.com. Launcher for next space station crew in position for liftoff Friday. And that's today. This carries a byline for Stephen Clark. Let's read. A Russian Soyuz rocket made a railroad journey Wednesday to its launch pad in Kazakhstan 2 days before blastoff with a crew of 3 spaceflight veterans from the United States, Italy, and Russia heading for the International Space Station. The 3-stage rocket departed an assembly building just after sunrise Wednesday on a special rail car for that journey to launch pad number 1, the same mount from which Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin launched on the first piloted space mission back in April 1961. A hydraulic lift raised the Soyuz vertical before swing arms moved into place around the rocket. The launch structure containing the Soyuz booster then rotated to align with that planned launch azimuth. Friday's liftoff is scheduled for 15:41 GMT. That's 11:41 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 9:41 p.m. Baikonur Time. The 3-man crew inside the Soyuz MS-05 capsule will head into orbit on a fast-track pursuit of the space station, with docking set for approximately 2200 GMT, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That docking will be with the research outpost's RASVET module, that's spelled RASSVET. Russian cosmonaut Sergei Ryazansky, 42, will occupy the Soyuz spacecraft's center seat during Friday's launch and docking. The Soyuz commander, who is a biochemist with a career in space medicine before his selection as cosmonaut in 2003, will be making his second trip to the space station. He spent 166 days in orbit as a flight engineer during expeditions 37 and 38. NASA astronaut Randy Bresnik will be the Soyuz MS-05 spaceship's board engineer, assisting Ryazansky with cockpit duties during the 6-hour voyage from liftoff to docking. He's 49, a retired Marine Corps fighter pilot, lives in Santa Monica, California. Randy has logged nearly 11 days in orbit aboard the space shuttle Atlantis. That was in 2009 on a mission to the space station. And come September, Randy Bresnik will take command of the station's Expedition 53 crew. European Space Agency flight engineer Paola Nespoli has logged 174 days of space experience on 2 previous missions, including a flight on the Shuttle Discovery in 2007 and a long-duration stay on the space station in the years 2010 and 2011. Paola Nespoli, 60, is a native of Milan and was a Special Forces operator in the Italian Army before working on several European space projects as an engineer. This illustrious trio will become part of the space station's Expedition 52 and 53 crews. They'll be joining Commander Fyodor Yuchichin and flight engineers Peggy Whitson and Jack Fisher on that orbiting complex. Yuchichin, Whitson, and Fisher are due to depart the station. They'll be coming back to Earth September 2nd. And the 3 fresh crew members will launch on the next Soyuz spaceship from Baikonur September 12th. Mark that date. The space station has been flying with a 3-person crew since early July, and Friday's docking will boost that outpost's occupancy back up to 6. Here's another date to mark on ye old calendar, August 17th. On that date, those 2 cosmonauts will deploy several small satellites. They'll be working outside the Russian segment of the station. That's going to require a little bit of juxtapositioning. A SpaceX Dragon supply ship launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida is expected to arrive at the complex that same week, but its liftoff is going to have to work around the scheduled Russian spacewalk. Station managers want to ensure the satellites released by the Russian spacewalkers are accurately tracked before committing the Dragon cargo freighter to even approach the outpost. They're intensely interested in minimizing the chance for collision with one of the small craft. At this point, that Dragon capsule is currently set to launch around August 14th, but if it slips more than a day or 2, the launch aboard a Falcon 9 rocket could be further delayed until officials are sure the small satellites are well away from the space station. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket is also expected to launch that same week, potentially complicating bookings on the United States Air Force's Eastern Range, that place responsible for flight safety, communications, and tracking support for all the missions out of Cape Canaveral. Yep, ground to space is a busy place. If you're not too busy this weekend, gentle listeners, you can drop by Off the Beaten Path. That's what we call the special weekend edition of the UFO headline news. We go, well, off the beaten path. We're going to cover an article about how we are galaxy stuff. Oh, that is something to ponder. We'll touch briefly on how it looks as though it's possible the tomb of King Tutankhamun's wife has been discovered in Egypt, of course. And then we'll check out a California community. They're concerned about chupacabras. It appears there might be a little pet stalking going on. But of course there will be UFO reports indeed. Here's one now. In fact, we don't have to wait till the weekend. Hughes Springs, Texas brings us this. It's MUFON case number 85419. The date of this sighting and the date of submission of report, the same date, the 27th of July, 2017. Here's the summary. Bright, large, green, glowing object slowly descending from the sky, then vanishing. Sighting specifics offer us a viewing distance, in this case, of 501 feet to 1 mile. The altitude was 500 feet or less. The entire sighting duration, about 2 minutes. Object features unknown. The flight path was a straight line path, and this particular object was shaped like a sphere. There doesn't seem to be any meteorological impact, no implications on the sighting, so let's just read the sighting itself. My cousin and I were...
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
Ooh, all right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
We're driving from town back to the property both of our houses are located on, about 5 miles from town. It was dark out, and since the moon is waning and we live in a very rural town, it was quite dark. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we both see at the same time a large object in the sky. It was glowing green, and it appeared to be falling slowly in a descending manner. It was difficult to calculate how far above or how far from us this object was. It couldn't have been too much higher than the trees, though, and it couldn't have been more than 3 miles away from us. We did not investigate further. I thought maybe somebody had shot off a flare, or that this could even have been some strange bug, but its size was too big. Neither of us are sure what we saw, but one of my friends suggested reporting it to y'all, and we all are very grateful for that. Boy, howdy, as they do say in Texas. Curious, green. It is possible, given the time of year we're in, that could have been a meteor. Just a bit of a trek from Texas to Arizona, where we pick up a black triangle sighting in Boulder City. MUFON has issued this case number 85418. The date of the sighting, 7/9/2017. Date submitted, 7/27/2017. Summary, triangle of lights dropping flashing orbs. There is video with this account, and you can find that later, just a click away, at ufoheadlinenews.com. Sighting specifics, viewing distance, 501 feet to 1 mile. The altitude was unknown. This entire sighting duration was 20 minutes long, but the features of the object are simply described vaguely as none. The flight path was stationary, and quite obviously this object was shaped like a triangle. It was hot at that time in Boulder City. The maximum temperature was 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, and it didn't cool off very much that night. The minimum temperature, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius. The factors of visibility, maximum through minimum, all the same, 10 miles, 16 kilometers. Nope, nothing abnormal about the Arizona weather. Here's the account. I was headed toward Las Vegas on Highway 93. I noticed a bright light in the distance, and I thought it was a plane. After traveling for some time, though, I noticed it had not moved. 2 more lights turned on, forming a triangle. This thing hovered above the mountain range. For some reason, I felt like I shouldn't have been looking at it. That's when I decided to take a short video, and I posted that on Facebook. Right after I started recording the video, a small flashing orb began to fall from this object. As the road there begins to wind more, I couldn't continue to watch the object. Now, about a week and a half from that day, I was going through photos to delete and make space when I came across this video. For some reason, I had honestly forgotten I had taken it. The small blue light on the left side in the video, that's a reflection of the LED on the charger of my phone. Oh, but gentle listeners, what is that other object? Check it out. Do your own analysis. It's up to you. Hang on, here's a dramatic shift in trajectory. We're going to go from Arizona to Nova Scotia to Halifax. That's where MUFON case number 85387 took place. The date of the sighting and the submission date are the same, July 26th, 2017. Here's what the witness offers by way of summary. Moving at steady rate. Abrupt 40-degree change in direction. Sighting specifics. Viewing distance over 1 mile. Our reporting witness lists the altitude here of over 500 feet without cloud cover. The sighting duration was quick, 15 seconds, which tallies that the object features are simply described as none. The flight path was a path that included directional change, and this object had a sphere shape. Here's the account in the first-person words of our reporting witness. Woke up at noon. Blue sky, sunny, large white clouds all around. I went out the front door to have a cigarette, looked up at the blue sky, and I immediately saw a white, small, marble-looking object in a patch of blue sky. At first I thought it was a drone, due to how fast it was moving. But then I realized this object was far too high to be moving that fast. It was round, smooth, no edges. There were no wings sticking out. The clouds were thick, tall clouds, like mountains in the sky. This object was a little above the base of those clouds. Its speed was similar to, here's an example, if you held up a 12-inch ruler at arm's length and took 2 seconds to move your finger from one end of the ruler to the other. The object was the shape of a circle that would be 5 millimeters tall at arm's length. It was white, the color of the clouds exactly, except that it was round. I could tell because it was slightly shaded with the shadow of a curvature on it. This thing was moving in a straight path for about 5 to 10 seconds. I'm not very good with time. It could have been shorter or longer. I really don't know. But then this object changed direction, about 40 degrees. It was moving west to southwest at this point. And then it went behind and into these large clouds, and it went out of my sight. The reason I'm reporting it as a UFO is because this object was clearly round. It had no wings, not even small wings. It had no angles. There were no edges large enough to see. This object was moving at a steady rate. It wasn't going up like a balloon. There was no drift. It went in an undisturbed forward path or motion. It wasn't being blown around. And then this object made an immediate and abrupt change in direction. That 40 degrees thing, it moved west and then southwest. In my opinion, this object was too small or too high to be moving so fast. Interesting. We seem to be coming across a lot of reports that indicate objects that are only unusual in their speed, their height, but mostly that factor of no wings, not even stubby little wings. So what's up with that? And what's up with our wonky trajectory? We're going back now to Oregon, the city of Portland. It's MUFON case number 85417. The date of the sighting is 7/27/2017, and it was reported the very same day. In summary, the witness says, was looking up, saw a slow-moving silver cylinder, no wings. Oh, that's the theme, no wings. Sighting specifics, viewing distance unknown, altitude over 500 feet, no cloud cover. Sighting duration, 1 minute. Object features, none. Object flight path, straight line path, and this object was cylindrical in shape. Here's the report. Just got off work, stopped at a neighborhood bar for a beer, and as I was outside talking to a friend, I looked up and noticed a shiny, silver, cylinder-shaped object. This object was reflecting the sun. It was moving slowly. It was large enough to notice that this thing had no visible wings. It was daytime, so there were no lights visible. I did take a video of it on Zoom with my Samsung 8, but I can't seem to email that video. I thought this was a plane at first, but then I noticed there were absolutely no surface features on this object, like wings. This thing appeared and then disappeared after about a minute. It simply faded out. Oh, that's our cue. We're going to have to fade out here too, because that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Inception Radio Network. Follow today's broadcast at ufoheadlinenews.com. Take care of each other. We're all in this together. This is Carol Carl.